We lost the power that led classes been cancelled. And meanwhile, staying at a temple without the power is quite difficult because of the cold. But in the meantime, it felt quite a silence as well. And suddenly, when this evening, when the light resumed, restored, and then came, suddenly like a new life begin. So the teachings of the Buddha is similar in a way that allows us to see that how things happening and we are in danger. According to the teachings of the Buddha, we realize that we are wandering in this samsara, life and death, reborn again and again, never ending, coming back to this life again and again. And simply because of the ignorance or not seeing the reality pertaining to itself. And we are accumulating whether the good or the bad actions. So, any action that we have performed, then there is a reaction to it that we have to be owner of it. Because of the greed, hatred, and delusion, every action that we have performed, it has a results. So it's like walking in the darkness of this samsara, endless cycle of a birth and a death. So the light here compares with the teachings of the Buddha. The teachings of the Buddha is known as the symbol of a light to see things as they truly are. The moment when we understand the teachings and see even a small light at the end of the tunnel, and then that gives us a hope to continue practice or continue walking. And the Dhamma is similar in that way. We have seen that the birth is suffering, aging is suffering, sickness is suffering, and obviously death. A person who is trained would understand that this is a suffering causing a miseries. Having understood that misery, properly and seeing it, one will seek path that one doesn't have to reborn anymore. And the seeing is the Dhamma. Understanding is the Dhamma. So that's why Dhamma is a light to see that how darkness and danger world that we are living in. So the moment when we have a light, there is no fear. The moment when we have this light, we can see things clearly. And we will not have to find difficulties seeing things what is in the room. And that's exactly the teachings of the Buddha, that the moment when we fully understood the nature of this body, nature of this phenomena, as we have to come back again and again, everything becomes neutral. And that a neutral position allows us to remain in neutral state of the mind, and that's how we will not be wondering what's going on. I remember when I was a child, we used to sit in the meeting halls outside in open space sometimes, and it's a late night and there's no lights, no electricities. And at the moment, we will be sitting around and telling the stories one by one. And oftentimes during the night, we know that the stories of the ghosts scares us, but yet we like to hear about it. As someone beginning to tell the stories of the ghosts, we all become closer and closer. But as soon as that ends, when we have to go back to our own houses, then that becomes haunted place or can be very scary. We tend to run and we tend to scream, and we feel so safe the moment when we reach the door of our house. So similar way, the moment when there is a light, we do not feel any troubles and no fear. So the Dhamma, the Buddha's teaching is like that. And now when we talk about the Dhamma, you may have observed that in front of our Buddha, we normally light 2 candles. And it's been a tradition to light the 2 candles. I remember a long time ago, somebody asked me that you already have a light in your room. Why do you have to light the 2 candles in front of the Buddha? And I had to explain that the 2 candles symbolize the teachings of the Buddha. And then there was also further discussion that why, rather than just 1 candle, we are burning 2 candles. And the reason behind having these 2 candles and lighting that 2 candles in front of the Buddha is, number 1, to venerate the Buddha as an offering to the Buddha, which is in the tradition in every religion that whenever you are confessing or you are conveying your respect to the God or to the deities, you simply light the candles or light the fire as a form of a veneration. But and this is in Buddhism, it is not in that sense, but however, we can relate to it. But these candles signifies the teachings of the Buddha. And how does that relate to the teachings of the Buddha? So as I have said, that we are wandering in the samsara without knowing the end of it. Due to our karma that we have performed, we will be coming back again and again and not seeing the danger of it. Now, the Dhamma, the moment when we studied and understood, allows us to see that how dangerous this world is and how dangerous to be coming back again and again in the samsara. So it is like shading, and the light shows the path so we can lead to the right destination and liberate ourselves. So the teachings of the Buddha is divided into two sections or two um, principles. One is called the Samuti Satcha, conventional truth, and another one is called the ultimate truth, the Paramatta Satcha. So that's why we light the two candles, signifying one is a conventional truth and the second is ultimate truth. And in the conventional truth, it's talking about the general teachings. It is talking about daily routines, what we do, what are we doing, and then that can be different to one place to the another. Everything that we say, everything that's given a name, and that is a conventional truth. Language itself is a conventional truth. It's like a signpost is a conventional truth, but that is leading to the destination. So language alone is not the end of the destination, but that is just a sign to convey a message. But language itself is a conventional truth that is leading to see the reality, what is being said, or what is the message about. So that is the conventional truth. It can be different to the countries by countries or language by language, like a water, a glass of like a glass of water. In English, it's called a glass of water. But in other language, it is not a glass of water. If I never learned English language, I would not know if somebody said this is a glass of water. But in the same time, if I say in Nepalese language, then it will be different, as I was born in Nepal. So I am trained to see differently. So that is the conventional truth. And yet, the message is the same. So that is the pointing at the ultimate teachings, ultimate truth. And when we talk about the ultimate truth, then it comes four principles, four realities. And there are number one is called chitta, the mind. And number two, it's called the chetasikas, mental factors. And number three, it's called rupa, or the materiality. And number four, it's called the Nibbana. So Chit Chetasik Rupa Nibbana is known as the ultimate truth. And here, ultimate truth, in a sense that it doesn't talk about an individual. It is again not considering about a place, but it's a fact, the reality. It's like a core essence of the life and its end. The rupa, or the materiality, as an entity that is developed or come together as at least for four basic elements. That's the earth, air, fire, and water. When these four elements come together, then that forms this body. And here comes the teachings of the Buddha saying that how this form is developed, and which is very scientific. Science also says that when the mother's womb is ready, egg is ready for the conception, at that time fathers or the male sperms just enters, and that moment this body forms. And that's how this form becomes, gradually develops, and become a proper being. Which is again, Buddha went even beyond that concept. Buddha said that it has to have consciousness entering, what's called punabhava, patisandhi consciousness, or birth linking, rebirth linking consciousness should entered into that meeting point, and only then an entity or a being will be reborn. Otherwise, this body will not survive. And here, rupa, in a Buddhist terminology, if we look at it carefully, it is divided into 28 different parts. In essence, however, it doesn't feel. It's just an entity similar to a tree. It won't move on its own, but we have to move. And it's a substance that is subject to decay. As the elements beginning to decay or changes, because this is conditioned aroused, it is ultimately changes and it dissolves. And this is known as a rupa. But however, sometimes people can be very attached to this rupa. People can be very attached to their a body that once upon a time in the past my body was this way, and maybe in a sense I was very handsome, I was very beautiful, and I had a very um, strong body and so on, and attached to it, and wishing that in the future I wish to have it, and even now I wish I could have that again. And that's how people can be attached to that. And further on, sometimes people can be very attached to the strongness or the softness of the body and so on. But this is again is very heavy. It's called Pancha Khandha. Parahave Pancha Khandha. The five aggregate is so heavy. Like yesterday, there was a lady. She came to meditation and expressed that while she was meditating, because she has been doing meditating and practicing meditation every day, 10 minutes of a walk, and then 10 minutes of a sitting, morning and evening, uh, every single day. And then if she misses one session, either in the morning or in the evening, next day she will do one more sessions in the afternoon to compensate the yesterday's practice. And because of that continuous practicing, she has developed quite a awareness, and she was able to distinguish between this feeling of lightness and the heaviness of this body, the rupa, and which is very, very good. It's called Nama Rupa Paricheta Yana, ability to distinguish mind body are two separate things. And one will be able to realize that state. And she was beginning to see that. So I asked her to extend her walking meditation and a sitting meditation. And when these feelings and these awareness comes, how to do or how to go further on. Yeah, like that. So this is the rupa. Understanding the rupa. Our rupa is one different things which is very heavy, it doesn't feel, but we have to rely on it. And the second one is the chitta. And quite often we think that this chitta or the mind um, is the entity that governs or uh, is the chief. And this chitta always comes along with the chetasikas, the mental factors. As we know that our mind never arises without an object. There's always objects so that there is a mind. So chitta and chetasik, mind and mental factors, are always there. Nevertheless, when we talk about the chitta, the main chittas are three. That's a greed, hatred, and ignorance. The mind with the greed, the mind with the hatred, and mind with the ignorance. And that is the essence or the main root causes of all the problems. Meanwhile, a good or positive chittas or the mind, non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion. Basically, generosity, learning to give things away. That's called the non-greed. Non-hatred is the metta, the loving kindness and compassion. And non-delusion is basically a wisdom, the light. And this is a positive mental state. That's why Buddha, and in Buddhism, Buddhism teaches us beginning to learn by giving a dana, learning to give things first. And that's simply to reduce our greediness. Greed, non-greed. So learning to give. As long as we can't give, and we still have some form of attachment to the things, to the feelings, and so on. But once we learn to give, then gradually we reduce our greediness or stinginess. So one of the characters of giving a dana offerings is generating this non-greed or giving up the stinginess. A non-hatred is again not just not having any hatred towards anybody, not just like I'm not hating to anyone, is not enough. The Buddha's teaching is we have to develop the loving kindness and compassion. And only then that fulfills the mind with the positive giving and kindness and compassion. So non-hatred basically means not just not having a hate or resentment or a jealousy and so on, but developing the loving kindness and compassion. And that's why this is the part of a Buddhist practice in Buddhism. That every one of us, we trained to share our loving kindness by saying it, by thinking it, by doing it. Sometimes people say that practice of a loving kindness, can we do it by mentally? Yes, you can, but it's a form of a giving, so you have to speak it out. When you speak, then it transforms into a love and kindness. It can be expressed, it can be observed by visible and invisible beings because you are expressing with the words. So that's why remember, not just in your mind, speak it out that may you be well, may you be happy, may you be at peace, and so on. Now that is the non-hatred state of the mind. A non-delusion, and again, this non-delusion is in a form, is a wisdom, knowing things as they truly are. So here, non-delusion basically means having a right understanding. Now here, right understanding means every action that we perform, it has a reaction. Is the first understanding that we have to develop, which is not easy. Every action that we perform, doesn't matter which action, whether it is by physically, whether it is by verbally, or whether it is by mentally, even the thinking process, and then it has a reaction. Now, when we look at the Buddha's teachings in a scripture, so the scripture is divided into three different parts. The Sutta Pitaka, Vinay Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. When we look at obviously the Vinaya Pitaka is about the rules and regulations and traditions and etiquettes and rituals. The Sutta Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka, two different caskettes, are the main part of the Buddha's teachings. In the Sutta Pitaka, when we look at it, Buddha is talking about from the gross level of action to the subtle level of action. So the physical body, physical action, and then a speech or verbal action and mental action. And the results are explained from physical, verbal, and mental. Whereas in Abhidhamma, also known as Buddhist psychology, in Abhidhamma studies, it explains from the mind, because mind is the forerunner. Mind leads us to do things. Mind leads us to say things. Now, every action that we do, every action that we perform, whether by thinking, whether by speaking, whether by physically doing, it has a reaction, a basically law of karma. And this is the first understanding that we have to develop. And the moment when we develop that understanding, a rest will come one after another. And that's how wisdom becomes fulfilled. And this is the second factors in the ultimate reality. And the third one is Chaitasikas, mental factors. Now, mental factors are many. There are so many mental factors. And in summary, mental factor is a factor that comes along with the mind. Now, the mindfulness, sati, is also a mental factor. It's not a mind, it's a mental factor that arises with it. Knowing is a mental factor, understanding is a mental factor, and so on. And this is also come along with the mind, and mind also relying on it to see things as they truly are. And this is also conditioned arose. And the last one is the Nibbana. Now, we have to remember, Nibbana is the ultimate goal of Buddhism. As the extinction of greed, hatred, and delusion, which is the main root cause of all the trouble. At the moment when the greed, hatred, and delusion been completely extinct, at that moment, one has attained the Nibbana. That's why this is the goal of Buddhism. And Nibbana is, again, one has to work by themselves. It's not by somebody or someone will give it to us. So Buddhism, that's why, is not about reunion with the God or the Brahman according to the other faiths and religion, but it is about self-perseverance and working hard to overcome this greed, hatred, and delusion, and attainment of this higher state of the mental, the mind, that's a Nibbana. And to attain that, one has to have a great patience, perseverance, and working hard. It's called Khanti Paramang Tapoti Tika. Patience and perseverance is the foremost austerity. Without that, without the patience and perseverance, one would not be able to attain this state. We will be invaded by the defilements, and as soon as we start meditating, we'll be thinking about our works, We'll be thinking about laziness and then want to go back to sleep and so on. We will not be able to continue our practice. So defilement simply takes us away. So-called nivaranas, hindrances will just hinder our practice and will not be able to attain this Nibbana. So we have to overcome these hindrances and defilements to attain this Nibbana, and which is the ultimate goal in Buddhism. So that's why lighting two candles are simply a symbol to indicate the conventional truth and ultimate truth, but basically uh, on the basis of conventional truth, encouraged us to realize the ultimate goal, ultimate truth, what the Buddha meant about, which is again, we can see from the Dhammaniyama discourse saying that whether the Buddha was a rose or not, these teachings were there, will be as well. The Buddha simply discovered it or opened the lead to show us that this is the truth. And he simply said that he is simply the pathfinder. We have to walk on that path to see the reality. So I offer this as tonight's reflection on the Tuesday night. And with this, I take this opportunity to stop speaking, and this floor is open for you to ask questions if you have any, or you can share any by typing below. With the blessings of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, may you all be well and happy. May you be prosperous in the worldly affairs and in the Dhamma, to see the reality pertaining to itself and overcome from suffering and attain the ultimate goal of Nibbana. May the Triple Gem bless you. Sadhu. So thank you very much. Let's have any, if you have any question to ask, you're most welcome. Sadhu. Thank you, Chun Sandra, Margaret. Okay. It seems like nobody has got any questions to ask. So in that case, let's practice the loving kindness meditation to finish off tonight's practice. Okay, so no questions here in the message, right? Message section, no. Okay, and no comments. Okay, right. Okay, in that case, let's practice loving kindness meditation. So sitting in a comfortable position and relax your body and mind, and spend a few moments on tonight's discourse. And that is the light shading at the end of the tunnel. And bring your attention to be mindful of your body. Observing sensations throughout the body. And bring that attention to your hands. Aware of sensations in your hands. And whatever sensations are there, observing it objectively. And gently bring that attention to your heart, observing beating heart. If you can't feel the beating heart, simply smiling. So physically smiling, when you physically smile, you can feel the connection with your heart. And as you feel the connection with your heart, you're generating loving kindness and compassion to yourself, allowing yourself to be happy. Observing the moment of happiness, feeling of happiness from bottom of your heart. Sharing loving kindness and compassion to yourself. May I be well, may I be happy, may I be at peace, may I be free from suffering. May I be well, may I be happy, may I be at peace. Similarly, sharing loving kindness and compassion to all other sentient beings, starting from near dear one, whatever beings there are, visible and invisible beings in this room, wherever you are, around you, in the room, in the house, in the community, or in the country, on earth, in the universe, all living creatures, whatever beings there are, visible and invisible beings. May they be happy. May they be at peace. May they be free from suffering. May they be free from troubles of a body and mind. May they be liberated, liberated. So gently bring that attention to your hands again, observing sensations in your hand and to your body, observing sensations in your body and to your eyes. Be mindful of attention in your eyes and have intention to open your eyes. With intention that I want to open my eyes, or intending to open, intending to open, intending to open, and slowly opening, opening, opening. Whatever you see, noticing it. And as you hear the gong, fully relaxed and reflect for a few moments. Now let's pay respect to the Buddha to finish tonight's practice. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Sawakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Subhadivano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Thank you, everyone, and good night. May you all be well and happy. May the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. And see you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Tune, Sandra, Tina, and everyone.